Hello and welcome to the Groundbreakers, a special program live streamed by CGTN where we break the ground for the latest trends. I'm Dongxue and we're coming to you live from the vibrant city, Shanghai. And for this episode, we're going to talk about China and France, two major countries in the world, as we know that this year marks the 60th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between these two countries. And specifically, this year also marks the Chinese-French cultural tourism year, where we can see a spanning of cultural and artistic activities going on between these two countries. And without any further ado, let's first introduce our guests here. Join me on the live panel discussion. Here, sitting on my left-hand side is Mr. Xie Dingwei, the founder of Bound One Art Museum.
Hello, nice meeting you.
Thank you so much for joining us here. And also we have David Gosset, founder of the China-Europe-American Global Initiative. He's also a global affairs expert.
Good afternoon, and I'm very happy to be with you and with the friends here.
Welcome to the program. And also we have Alice Roshi, a very well-known French influencer. She's also a culture and music blogger. Alice.
Nice to be with you today and to have this nice conversation about Sino-French relations.
Great, very great to have you all here with us on CGTN. As I mentioned earlier, this year also marks the first year of Chinese-French cultural tourism year. We've seen a lot of activities going on between these two countries. And, it was a strong move back in 1964, when under the leadership of Mao Zedong and the General de Gaulle, when China and France has established the diplomatic ties. And since then, it's also laid the foundations for a cooperative future. There are a lot of cooperations between these two countries, and specifically for the culture and tourism. And to start with the discussion, let me just show you a quick video of where it all started when then Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai, he showed the General Pompidou in one of the famous Buddhism cave sites in China called the Yungao Grottoes. Let's take a look.
我们永远不会忘记，云冈石窟的保护工作凝结着敬爱的周总理的心血。1973年9月15日，已经重病在身的周总理亲自陪同法国蓬皮杜总统参观云冈石窟。
Absolutely beautiful pictures. And also, as you can see, we have a 3D printed Buddhism statue over here in our live studio. It was called Oriental Venice because of its beauty. David, I'm sure you know more than this, more than me. Can you tell us about the story?
I don't know much, but I like this smiling Buddha very much, we all say, especially in the US, they love to say, I am very excited to meet you. I like to say to meet you calms me down. It's very important, I think, to be calm.
Right.
And thank you for showing us this wonderful footage. So as you said, this year is a very important year for the relationship between France and China. The two countries established diplomatic relations in 1964, so 60 years ago. And we have to remember that at that moment we were in the middle of the Cold War. And 2 years before the establishment of diplomatic relations, we had very severe tensions over Cuba. I tell you that because it was really a breakthrough for France and China to establish diplomatic relations.
Yep.
And what you saw with this footage is something actually very, very, very moving, because it's not only the first visit of a French president to China, Georges Pompidou. De Gaulle died in 1970. But it's also a moment of friendship. And you see what brings the two countries together, that is culture. We are in the north of Shanxi. And in fact, historically, we are on the Silk Road. So it's about exchange. But what moves me deeply, by the way, I just did a book on the Shanxi, Lingan Shanxi, inspiring Shanxi en perspective in 3 languages for those interested. And at that moment, maybe you can see on the picture, Premier Zhou Enlai was already not in a very good health. And it was the same for Georges Pompidou. When Georges Pompidou went back to France, several months later, he passed away. So you can see also that it's a beautiful moment, historical, diplomatic breakthrough. But you can see also the responsibility of these great people. You know, you go to the limit. So thank you very much for showing us this footage. I think it sets very well the tone for the conversation we want to have today.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a very cherished moment between these two leaders back then. So what kind of legacies you think it left for the relations between the two countries?
Again, we were, people have to remember that we were in the middle of the Cold War. Therefore, the world was divided. And for a Western country like France to reach out to China, and of course vice versa, meant that despite all the geopolitical difficulties, cooperation, a spirit of cooperation and friendship can prevail. And in fact, when you think about that, it seems to be a long time ago. But think about the world we have today. It's a very complex world, also with a lot of divisions. And I think that what France and China, first of all, they have in this spirit always to stay at the avant-garde, at the avant-garde. But the avant-garde of what? I think of this spirit of friendship and cooperation, which is good for the Chinese people, the French people, Chinese people, European people, but also for the global village in which we live. So there is a legacy, but because you said it very well, this year is very important, we have to think about the past. This is the past, the present, but let us not also forget the future. And when you think about culture in the future, we cannot not to discuss technology. So maybe we will discuss also these new issues, but I think past, present, and future are 3 very important dimensions.
Yes, speaking of technology, the 3D print is exactly the example of technology boosting cooperation.
Which, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, and the director here will tell us more, which raises a lot of questions about what is imitation, what is a copy, what is the original work, when you can do things like that. This is very, very, very impressive, but it has an impact on the way, for example, we think about a collection, we think about museums, so many things that we have to discuss.
Sure. Mr. Xie, the next question I want to go to you. As we just watched the video, is sort of like a renovation of the Yungao Grotesque when Premier Zhou Enlai showed to President Pompidou. And, you know, also the landmark building, the how do I say it? Notre Dame, right?
Right.
Yes, it's also in rebuild. Right? So can you share some of the similarities between these two when it comes to cultural heritage protections?
Yes, this is both the similarity is both our countries, our national treasures. So this is one similarities. But this is something our country, our nation cannot afford to lose.
Right.
You know, we need to preserve these national cultural heritages. Mm-hmm. We not preserve the sculptures or the building itself. Also, it gives us a chance to see, you know, hundreds of years ago, how our craftsmanship, our architecture, our human being, we have reached a level of highest level, which brings us a present time these treasure, these values. This is something we really cannot afford to lose.
Yeah, of course we can learn. We can always learn from history.
Yes,
I would say.
Yeah.
And Alice, have you ever been to Yungao Grotesque?
I've never been, but I've been to Longmen.
Oh, yeah, Longmen Grotesque. It's a similar idea.
Luoyang, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was the first time I was in China, actually. The first time I came to China, my teacher got a very great plan for us. It was my high school teacher, my first Chinese teacher, and we just relinked recently. That's funny because my mom works in the same place now. Anyway, but a long story. But I was very happy to reconnect with this first Chinese teacher, you know. And so we went to the big cities, you know, Shanghai, Beijing, Xi'an, and to this Longmen next to Luoyang.
Yeah.
But not to this one. Maybe I have to go as well. It's the same kind of Buddhist statues.
Yeah. Any other, you know, cultural heritage sites you would impressed you in China when you first came?
Yeah, of course. When I first came in China, of course, the Xi'an. The Xi'an Bingmayong, of course.
The terracotta warriors.
In English, Bingmayong.
Terracotta warriors.
It's more complicated in English, so let's say Bingmayong.
Bingmayong is fine.
Yeah, the Bingmayong is was just something like amazingly impressive for me because it was the first time I came in Asia as well. Like the whole Asian world, I didn't understand in any way.
When you were in high school?
Yeah, I was 15 when I first visited China.
What brought you here?
I fell in love with Chinese language at high school with that.
I see.
Yeah. So, and with that first travel as well, with that first trip in China, seeing so many magical scenes like that, and so far from what I know was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Mr. Xie, I want to turn to you. You know, as Alice as a French, she's sort of like use a Chinese language, sort of like a connected you and China. But as a Chinese, you know, you've also been doing quite a work in artistic, you know, museum exchanges and stuff like that. So what do you think the role you can play in order to pull a closer ties between China and France when using, you know, museum cultural exchange programs and stuff like that?
Yes, since I've been in Western countries, lived for a long time, and I see the difference between Chinese and European Americans, see the difference. But I see the culture is something, it's a common language. It doesn't matter your Eastern art or Western art, somehow they can be connected. We're not connecting these arts, we're connecting people. So I had a thought, you know, when I visit these museum in Paris, in New York, Boston, and I feel, you know, these Western art we can bring them to China and have the Chinese people, they don't have to travel, but they can see at their homeland. So this is something I think it creates a channel, you know, a communication channel between the nations. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. So this is, so I somehow falling into this this profession as this museum business. So I feel happy for that, and I think I can do something to bring the nations, bring the peoples together.
Sure, as you mentioned, I think the cultural cooperation in some way it would boost a people-to-people exchanges between these two countries. And I wonder, this is a question to every one of you, how important is cultural cooperation when it comes to boost bilateral relations? David, do you want to go first?
Yes, but before I would like to rebound on what Alice said. I think it's a very important point, and maybe we have also young Chinese friends listening to this program, and I would like to tell them that really travel in China.
Come and take a look. Come and see and taste China.
I tell this to the non-Chinese friends, of course, but also to the young Chinese friends. China is an amazing country, and I think this is the first time I meet Alice, but I think we have the same passion for travel, and China is a land for travelers, you know, and you spoke about Henan, we saw Shanxi, but you have so many fascinating places, so please, before maybe you want to go to other countries, know your own country
exactly, yeah.
Very well, and then maybe you are more prepared to appreciate other culture. But it's very important first to know yourself. And sorry, I will go to your question, but it was fascinating also because I know the work that Director Xie is doing, and really this is very important. I would say very central in many sense. That is, you are, because your museum is at the center of Shanghai, wonderful historical building, and it's really the quality of the exhibitions you are able to bring to Shanghai. This is really very impressive. As for cultural relations, of course, it is very important, and Director Xie said it beautifully. Look at this. Look at this. This is beauty, and beauty is universal. Is universal. So you can express beauty in different ways. But at the end of the day, when it is beautiful, a Chinese friend or a French friend, they would know, oh, this is beautiful. And it connects us beyond linguistic barriers or political, you know, rhetorical divisions. So this is very important. You don't have, when you think about the things that connect us, beauty, music, and you know, it's beautiful to always to be close to musicians, or mathematics, for example. Also, let us not forget food.
Yes.
Food.
Absolutely.
This is, you have a lot of beauty. It tastes wonderfully, and Chinese friends know to appreciate good Chinese food, and vice versa.
Right.
And food is a very important part of culture. The things we wear, this is also very much cultural. The food. I tell you that because between France and China, I personally think that we should. So many things are happening already. Fine dining restaurants, French restaurants, also Chinese food, projecting itself globally in Paris. But we could do much more
than that.
So
yeah.
also maybe to think for the future.
Yeah. How about you, Alice? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's right. I thought about a lot of things when this, you know, for example, traveling. Yeah, I was thinking of our last documentary.
Yeah.
中国奇妙之旅, because we saw so many amazing places that developed so fast, like some you know, countrysides that were developing so fast through tourism, through also agriculture. Yeah, like so many industries that developed so fast and that made some very, like, even arid areas become like so interesting culturally speaking for tourists. So Chinese tourists as well are like discovering their own country, like, because it's getting so much more lively, you know, this last decades. So yeah, Chinese is developing like so fast, and it makes the country like even more like attractive. Also, I was thinking about music, because music is like, you know, one of the comments I see most often is like 音乐无国界.
Yeah. There's no boundaries.
There is no
when
boundaries.
It comes to
like,
music.
and this is a commentary, like a comment I had so many times. I even made a video out of it, and I started to write lyrics in order to make French and Chinese rhyme together, because I was thinking, wow, this is true. This is like it can be totally transparent and a fusion like between the two languages, and it's beautiful, because it's like you can hear the alliteration or the rhymes between the two languages. So it's actually like totally linked and totally merged,
connected.
Like two languages merging.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like we are actually all human, and we all have the same enthusiasm. We are about music.
I agree with Alice and David, you know.
Yeah.
Music is no boundaries. The art is no
boundaries, yeah.
As well as the food.
Especially the food.
I've been discussed with many French friends, and we used to say, okay, can you find something, you know, in common between Chinese and French? Oh, food is one thing, and art is one thing.
Right.
We always say this.
Yeah. Well, since both of you has mentioned about travel, like traveling to China, actually China has extended its visa-free schemes for a lot of European countries. That includes France earlier this year. I'm sure it's a move that could, you know, China's commitment to opening up and a move to boost the people-to-people exchange. And that said, you know, there's a lot of artistic projects and exhibitions, as I mentioned earlier, going on in Beijing. For instance, the Palace Versailles exhibition in the Forbidden City. I don't have time to go to see it yet, but I'm so excited if I could get the tickets and take a look. You know, so I just wonder, any other events going on this year would excite you guys?
So actually, there are many great exhibitions. Lately, I've been to Zhonghua Yishugong. Zhonghua Yishugong in English, I'm not sure, but well, this is like the Shanghai exhibition pavilion, the Chinese pavilion from the Shanghai exhibition of 2010.
I see.
Yeah, this Zhonghua Yishugong, and it has a great exhibition actually lately about two Chinese painters who went to study abroad in France. And so Zhou, Ling Fengmian,
there we go.
Yes. So yeah, this is great to see the great links they are doing between their own culture, Chinese culture, and with some art movements. Like I could see like the
French influence in their projects.
Of, for example, Picasso, or the influence of some pop art, you know, in the 80s, of some pop art colors, combination, like how to say that, like combination of pop art colors with Chinese ink. So it was like very, very intercultural kind of art, you know. So I think there are many this kind of exhibitions lately, and it's really fascinating to see that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a similar exhibition.
Yeah.
Early 20th centuries Chinese ink paintings. but this time we all from Paris, Chanuski Museum, Asian Museum. They have a great collection of the early Chinese paintings. But these paintings, these artists in the 1920s, they went to France to study. You just said Lin Fengmian and Wu Guanzhong. And we're going to have Xu Beihong, Lin Fengmian. These are famous
Masters.
artists. They went to France in the 1920s to learn art, and then came back to China. And they opened up art schools. So they bring the tradition, the Western art school, a way of a teaching system they brought to China. I think this is wonderful, and we're going to have this exhibition in fall, this fall.
Nice.
So as a program of both countries' diplomatic relationship for 60 years.
I see.
It's a great exhibition. You must see it.
You mentioned about, also Alice has mentioned about how, we can see this Chinese arts, we can see the French influence from their projects. I'm sure you've been working with a lot of artists who had a similar, impact between China and France. Can you share with us some of their stories?
We've done many French exhibitions. Early times we did a Monet exhibition. We did a Centre Pompidou's modern art exhibitions from France. And we've done these projects which are examples of our cultural exchange. And then this year, I just mentioned, this year we're going to have this China ink paintings, but they're from France. And I think the influence between the artists are very vivid. If you look at Lin Fengmian's painting, he's those 仕女画, I don't know what's a good term for English. It's female portraits, and he got some influence from Modigliani. But Modigliani is an Italian artist, but he lived in France.
Right.
He lived in France. So these Chinese artists, they went to France, went to Paris, and they certainly got an influence from the Paris art circle. They got an influence from that art circle. So you can clearly see many of these examples of cultural influence among our two nations. I think this is something really wonderful.
And how would this event sort of like influence people like me, like an ordinary Chinese and ordinary French? How would such event would benefit them, you think?
Maybe David can.
So sorry, I will not answer directly this question because what has been said, I don't want the viewers to think that it's always France or Europe impacting Chinese artists. Because we are talking about cultural exchanges, right? And mutual influence. And let us not forget that one great sinologist, one sinologist, I would say, whose name is René Etienne, wrote a book about Europe's 18th century, and he speaks about Chinese Europe. That is, the 18th century Europe was very much impacted by China.
Yes.
So let us not also forget the impact of China on France and Europe. And I give you the floor immediately. But for example, when you think about French painting, there is a painter I like very much who passed away. He was very old, Pierre Soulages. He's very famous for his black. And in fact, when you look carefully, the impact of Chinese aesthetic, because this is a word we did not pronounce, this is aesthetic, is very deep. So it goes both ways. France, Europe influences China, and China has an impact on the world. And I think, well, at least this is what I would hope. One of the corollaries of the Chinese Renaissance because the Chinese artists, they will also rediscover their own depths and tradition through Chinese characters to Buddhist art or whatever. It will have a real impact on foreign artists. We need, you were asking, how does it impact us? What director said, how is wonderful work impacts us? Well, very, very simple. I encourage people to go to museums, to go to movie theaters. By the way, talking about movies, because this is also a very important part of culture, I was so happy to see the impact in China of the movie Anatomy of a Fall. You know, Anatomy of a Fall, and the conversation it triggered in the universities. I mean, this is what is beautiful about life, to exchange and this mutual enrichment. You enrich me, I enrich you, we learn from each other, and something emerges. We don't know, but this is this notion of emergence because of the dialogue of culture. Sorry, Alice.
I was interviewed by a very cute influencer about this movie, a Chinese influencer, because this movie, was extremely impactful for a young generation. Maybe
What's
about
it called in Chinese?
Anatomy of
Shema Chuilo.
Shema Chuilo.
Shenpan Chuilo.
对 No, Shenpan. 对 We will find out, but this is the story. There is someone dies at the beginning of the movie, and the story is to understand the causes and who killed.
But actually, it's not a crime movie at all.
No,
it's actually a social movie. You can understand so many things about couples' life. It's more like feminism. That's why it was.
So what
very
you are trying to say is the
audience.
influence is through our daily lives. You know, from the food, from movies, from art exhibitions in the museums. Or these are influence.
Culture is everywhere.
Yes.
From what we eat, the things, the shoes, the socks, these are, to be a little bit pedantic, these are signs. It's a semiotic, 符号学. 符号学, it's we actually we have different ways, human beings, to speak. We can speak with languages, but you have also other ways to express things. So it can be artistic, food. But at the end of the day, what is beautiful, I really think what is beautiful is the encounter. When you meet someone at somewhere, and it can be also someone having an encounter with a book. A book can change your life, right? So this is the beauty of the world in which we live.
Yes, not only book and also music. And speaking of the encounter, when French President Emmanuel Macron, he was here last April, and he met with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and they enjoyed this beautiful art piece played by a Chinese artist using guqin. And the lyrics, the song she played is called "The Flowing Water."
Right.
Well, there's a story behind it. Back in the ancient times, the 高山流水. So it's a symbol of the friendship between two great men. Well, let's take a quick look at the video.
And by the way, you know that President Macron was very moved.
Yes.
He has asked for more information, the lyrics.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, very kindly, the Chinese side, they prepared the lyrics, and it's very beautiful.
Yeah, let's take a look.
This is the sound of a millennium-old guqin. And the performer is Chinese musician Li Pengpeng. The beautiful melody deeply impressed Chinese President Xi Jinping and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron during the French president's visit to Guangzhou on April 7th. The music piece, Flowing Water, has a history of thousands of years. Li Pengpeng selected the piece especially for this performance. The guqin that Li Pengpeng played is called Jiu Xiao Huan Pei, or Jade Pendant of Highest Heaven. It was made in the Tang Dynasty and is over 1,200 years old. It is one of the oldest Chinese musical instruments still in existence.
Such a beautiful piece.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Do you want to share some of the stories behind Gaoshan Liu Shui? I'm sure you're the expert here.
Not really. It was a Asian story about a musician in the Asian time. He played this piece, and the people who are far away, they understood. They get really moved, touched by the music. It's about that story.
I know Alice is also can sing a little bit of Kunqu, right? Kunqu is also a very...
I've learned a little bit. But...
Yeah, very ancient and classic form of art in China. Do you want to sing one or two for us?
Yeah, I've translated one sentence of the most famous Kunqu opera.
Called
永远惊梦.
Yeah, there we go.
And so this sentence, the most famous one, 不到园林真挚春色如许.
So the literal translation would be, if you are not here, how would you know the spring is coming?
Yeah,
or
if you're not here outside in the garden, how would you know the beautiful
spring has arrived? There we go.
Right.
And so I've translated this sentence into French.
Beautiful.
So I will perform it to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Looking forward.
But it's just one sentence. It's just like I try to be as expressive as the Kunqu actor, but it's so much, it's into details, you know. It's beautiful when you see their hands, details, everything is in the eyes, everything is so amazing. I try to imitate, but it's like, you know, it's like David was saying, we influence from each other, but you know, it's like our own culture. So it's very, like, I really admire Kunqu actors for this. I will never be able to do the same, but well, I can imitate, I can copy.
Okay.
Sans promenade, pas d'amas de printemps.
Very nice voice you got over here. Yeah.
You got a great voice. You got a great voice.
She got really nice voice.
It's the first time that I listen to
French
this,
Kunqu.
because this is the first time that we meet, as I told you, and I think it's a beautiful. It touches me because I have a great passion for translation in general. I respect very much translators, you know. Well, now it becomes with the new AI tools we have also it is, but I'm talking about literary translation and what is happening when you translate. And it's beautiful because in that case, in your case, you do the effort to translate, but also the way you use the gestures, and so there is a translation also from body to body. So it is fascinating, and I hope you continue. One sentence is not enough.
Maybe we'll save it for next time.
Yes. I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know, this Kunqu is when they're speaking those words or sing those words, even the normal Chinese couldn't understand because they're far away from our regular day-to-day languages.
Yeah.
So when you sing French, I'm sure even the Chinese heard, they all have a heart feeling, but the tone is so beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very, it gives us the touch of the Chinese Kunqu opera. These things are really beautiful, I think.
You see? You see? Thank you, thank you. Translate. It's possible to translate. Actually, because you spoke also about fusion at the beginning of the conversation. To be honest with you, I don't know how you think, but I have a problem with this word because for me still, it's very important. I mean, China is China, Europe is Europe. It's possible to translate, but let us preserve also the difference. You see what I mean? It's very we cannot put everything together and become fusion cuisine. No.
Fusion cuisine.
No fusion cuisine. And
everything has its uniqueness.
Yes, and you need to know how to appreciate yourself, to appreciate the other, and then you are able to understand that it is possible to harmonize.
Yes.
So it's more harmony. It's not fusion, it's harmony.
Yes.
Yes.
Harmony. Actually, when we have this song with one sentence in Chinese, one sentence in French, it's not really fusion. It's still combination of two languages. It's just harmony between the rhymes, the sounds of the two languages. So maybe thank you, David. For
no, but it's
exactly.
because
not fusion, it's combination.
Because
it's harmony.
Yeah,
I agree.
It is true that a lot of people are talking about fusion, right? And I don't think it's so harmony. I think
is a better word for that.
Right,
yeah.
And preserving the difference is really needed. Yes.
Yeah, very needed. And I think I don't like I don't know what you think, but I don't like this idea that we should all become the same. Right. I mean, France is France, China is China, and what is important is to try, especially, and it is why I admire the work you do. And when I go to your museum, I am always very impressed, and it gives me a lot of hope, actually, to see young people. Young people. Because museums are also places where we educate people, right? We prepare the future. And which future do we want? We want a future of peace and harmony. So very nice, you appreciate Raphael, but also we hope that more and more Europeans, they appreciate a good Chinese calligraphy.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of young French people will appreciate your voice as well. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Mr. Xie, well, since Alice has, showed her talents, turning to Mr. Xie, I understand you used to be a chip researcher based in Silicon Valley. Now you're turning into an art ambassador. Yeah. Tell us the stories behind and why do you think, this sort of a transition would shape the cooperations between these two nations for you?
Yeah, I was an engineer.
Yeah.
Engineer. I was making computer chips.
Yeah.
But I think just like David just said, you see the young people. I grew up in an artist family, and I started learning art when I was a little child. So when I lived in the United States, and I see, so many different arts, from different nations, different countries, then I think, this communication on the art subject between the nations, different peoples, are really, really important. I think this is something bring us together, bring us understanding each other, bring us learn from each other. I think these things are absolutely wonderful. It goes beyond to politics, beyond to the difference between the nations, but you all goes to getting closer to understand each other. I think this is something. It's a basic groundwork we have to do.
Yes, we've talked about how every country is different, but to some extent they can combine sort of like advantages and all together. That reminds me of a similar idea which was proposed by Chinese President Xi Jinping to build a community with a shared future. So my last question to every one of you. What do you think this uniqueness of this initiative, building a community with a shared future, and how China and France, these two major countries, can contribute to building such a community? David, you want to go first?
Well, you see, I am very much a supporter of this idea. During COVID time, I have edited 3 volumes. The name of the book is China and the World, so volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. The last one on ideas and culture, so in English, published outside of China. And the subtitle of the book, China and the World, towards a shared future for mankind. So I am completely aligned with this idea that we are on the same boat. And Mr. Xie, Alice, Dongxue, and myself, we belong to the same human family. There are differences, yes, but they are not absolute. Again, it's possible to translate, and mutual understanding is possible. But because there are differences, some people, they want to demonize, you know. They say, oh, this David Gosset is a bad guy. But David Gosset actually is just another human being, So, and again, I was telling you at the beginning of our conversation that our world is threatened by too many divisions. And I think what is important is to support the forces that can unite us. So it can be music, certainly museums, and you need leaders with a vision. And this is a vision, a cohesive vision that does not separate us. So we need to support this, align with this vision. There is a lot of consistency with what is happening in Beijing. Before that, since 2013, China put forward the notion of what is one belt, one road. So the idea of reinventing the ancient Silk
Road. Yes.
Well, this is exactly what we have to do. So, but you see, Alice likes to present herself as a cross-cultural influencer. I like this very much. But if you ask me, what do you think when you listen to cross-cultural something? Well, so many things, but it requires patience. We need to be patient. And we need also to be humble. So we need to be ready to go a long march. Mr. Xie, you need to do many exhibitions. Not 100 is not enough. And I hope you patience and humility, because at the end of the day, we are very small in a big world and even bigger universe. But I think, and there is the smart thing or the wise thing to do is to have a conversation like that. And the conversation has to go on. Let us not stop the conversation. I mean, today we will have to stop, but let us not stop, because there is nothing more dangerous than intellectual decoupling.
Mr. Xie, what about you? What's your make of the?
Yes, the mutual respect, you know, it requires mutual understanding. What we do is we do cultural exchanging. It's an effort for mutual understanding. Then I think it takes a long way to do, but we have to just do it. And also, I just want to comment on your free visa question you raised.
Right.
I think the free visa policy was great for our museum cultural exchange.
For sure.
Each exhibition will have many visitors from the museum side. They have museum directors, curators, couriers, all these people coming, and the restorers. These people coming, but they're only coming for very short time, 2 days, 3 days, 5, 10 days, the maximum. So this free visa is really benefit. I think we're doing things are in the right direction to make things happen, to make cultural exchanging more frequently and more effectively, and this will making the mutual understanding really progress and eventually, it's a long march. David just said, yes, a long march to mutual respect.
Yes.
I think this is where we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, and the visa-free schemes would, hopefully would bring people like Alice, to come to China to get to know this country, to actually experience this country.
Yeah, because we have many visitors. Usually we have to do a lot of work to apply for visa. We have to get the invitation letters.
Right.
We get to go to embassy to make appointments. It's
become much easier.
It's much easier.
Yes. Okay, before we conclude our live stream, may I invite Alice into a sort of like dual song? Yes, because I know you are very good at translating Chinese songs into French. Unfortunately, I can't do French, but I can do Chinese.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Director Xie, you represent me.
Okay, so which song do you want to go?
So we will go with Ye Lai Xiang, Zhong Fa Ban,
Okay.
Jasmin Blanc, Ye Lai Xiang.
Yeah, it's very...
Ye Lai Xiang, which means the night fragrance, but that's the name of a flower as we know. And this is I translated it. Jasmin Blanc.
Okay.
It has a very complicated Latin name, but well, Jasmin Blanc was nice with the rhymes, so it was Jasmin Blanc.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Okay, I'm gonna have to check the lyrics online. Okay. Okay, here we go. So you do French and then I go Chinese, right? Okay.
Let's go.
So exciting.
Mes cheveux volent sous le vent.
那眼睛低声气唱，
Les fleurs s'endorment doucement, mais le divin jasmin blanc
吐露着芬芳。
J'aime ce vaste firmament.
也爱着夜莺歌唱，
Mais mon idylle rêve séant, parfumé de jasmin blanc.
哒哒哒哒哒哒哒。
Bravo.
Jasmin blanc,
我为你歌唱，夜来香。
我为你歌唱，为你歌唱，我为你歌亮。
Alrighty.
Wonderful.
Alrighty.
再来一个吧。
We will save it for
Bravo.
next time. Again, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
participating in this in this discussion. Thank you so much. I'm sure the friendship between China and France, thanks to you guys, will last forever. And we're also expecting more art exhibitions, more cultural exchanges, more music coming from you guys. Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for all the viewers staying with
Thank
us
you.
for the live streaming. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.